Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sports Vault Jersey. Joe Archino back here, and it has certainly not been a good time for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Really dropping two big games, their last two results, losing to the Raptors 99-97 on Friday, and then following that up on Sunday, losing to the Wizards 113-99. Most important talking point on the Wizards loss is, of course, LeBron James not playing in that game. But a biggest of all, a story today that Kyrie Irving is not happy in Cleveland and at some point would like to make a switch. Stephen A. Smith saying this morning that, according to him, dating back to last year, I've been told that Kyrie Irving ain't too happy being in Cleveland. The situation is not ideal for him. I don't know the particulars. I haven't spoken to him personally. It's something that I've been hearing for months, that under ideal circumstances, he would prefer to be someplace other than Cleveland. Now, I think the most important thing to kind of say before we delve into this is there, to me, is no trustworthy sources in the NBA aside from Brian Windhorst. Brian Windhorst is never going to put something out there unless he has confirmed it 100% to be true or he has spoken to somebody and he's for sure. I've heard Chris Broussard go on record and he's been wrong. I've heard Stephen A. Smith many times go on record and be wrong. Some guys are in the business of getting it right. Some guys are in the business of getting it out there first. The guys who are in the business of getting it out there first aren't always in the business of getting it out there right. That's why, to me, Brian Windhorst is not always the guy with the first story out there, but he always gets it right, and I'd rather hear from the guy who has to get it right. So still waiting to hear if he has comment on this story. As of now, nothing, but I think you have to ask the question, and it's fair to ask, is this a remote possibility? I think you would have to say it is a remote possibility because we have heard these rumors before. Before LeBron arrived in Cleveland, Kyrie Irving, it seemed like we heard multiple reports, even from Brian Windhorst, that he was not happy there, that he wanted out of the situation. It was a losing situation. It was a losing culture. They had draft pick after draft pick, and they just weren't working. Dion Waiters, they drafted him, and the two of them clearly did not get along. Instability on the coaching staff, kind of similar to LeBron's first time around. Some organizations just don't have it together, and the Cavaliers certainly didn't with Kyrie, and they certainly didn't with LeBron the first go around. But, I think this all really comes back to the way that Kyrie and LeBron like to play. Now, if you've listened to me before, you know how highly I think of Kyrie Irving as a basketball player. The growth he's taken in his game since LeBron has gotten there is really just an incredible level. He has become one of the most impactful players on both ends of the floor in the game. He really is a dynamic scorer, a dynamic shooter, but he impacts the game on defense tremendously, and when he has to, he gets his teammates involved. But Kyrie likes the ball in his hands, and we know that LeBron also needs the ball in his hands, and it makes people kind of wonder, does Kyrie need his own team to be at his best? I don't necessarily think so because he's been just fine coexisting with LeBron, but the question that I think is begged to be answered is, does Kyrie want to be the guy on his own team? And you would think you always want to be the man. You always want to be the guy. And is that a remote possibility for Kyrie Irving? I would think you would have to say yes, but it's very convenient for Stephen A. Smith to come out and say this when the Cavaliers have just suffered two pretty disappointing losses, especially in an Eastern Conference where we really all think Cleveland has this locked in key. It's theirs for the taking. There's a significant drop-off. I think it's very creative for Stephen A. Smith to come out and say this right now. And again, we don't know how much truth there is to these rumors. Until I hear it from a guy like Brian Windhorst, I'm just not going to buy it. And Kyrie Irving, I think, I don't know if him and LeBron have always had the best relationship. I think clearly at times, it's always strained like anything. Scottie Pippen and Jordan didn't always have the best relationship. When you have multiple stars, there's egos there. And those egos sometimes are difficult to counterbalance. Sometimes it ends very badly like it did with Shaq and Kobe. Sometimes there's always a little bit of tension, but you're able to get past it at times. And clearly, that's always at work. It doesn't matter if you're LeBron and Kyrie or if you're Derrick Rose and a guy like Jimmy Butler. It just happens in the NBA. It's pro sports. It's alpha males. It's guys who want to be the best. Stuff like that just happens. But if I think, right now, I think more than anything it's very convenient for this story to come out. I think most of all, we're just waiting for the Cavaliers to come back and make a statement performance. They have a big game against Indiana tonight, another Eastern Conference team. And for the most part, for those of us who are trying to make the argument that Cleveland is far and alone the best team in the Eastern Conference, largely you had that argument in your hands. But it's getting a little bit more difficult now because of the inconsistency of the Cleveland Cavaliers. We talk so much about the Golden State Warriors and about teams that are playing out of their minds right now, like Portland is even catching up. San Antonio. Golden State and San Antonio have showed prolonged consistency all season long, and we know it. There's no hiding it. Cleveland has had struggles in the consistency department, and more than anything, if you try to rank the top 4 teams in basketball, I think right now, on any given day, most people would probably say Golden State, San Antonio, Cleveland, Oklahoma City, give or take maybe LA at the 5th. But for the most part, if you have to rank the teams that move the ball the best out of them, Cleveland might be the last, or maybe 4th on that list. But I think when you look at it all, there are corrections that need to be made for the Cavaliers. When Cleveland is at its best, and I think this is what's so frustrating to Tyronn Lue, is they can be the best in the NBA on any given day, but it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of movement from the players, and sometimes they just don't show that level of commitment that it takes. I know it's more easier said than not, but I think part of the thing on this team is they're so looking ahead at the end result, getting back to the finals, and they really know largely they will be back in the finals. We look at last season. Were the Cavaliers perfect? No. Did they have a perfect regular season? No, they did not, but they sweep the Boston Celtics in the first round. Kevin Love largely doesn't even play in that series. Against the Chicago Bulls, Kyrie Irving is extremely limited. No Kevin Love. They win that series pretty handily. The Atlanta Hawks were the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. They sweep them without Kyrie Irving and without Kevin Love. So I think maybe that's part of the thing too, but this segment was largely about Kyrie Irving, the potential of him wanting to exit Cleveland. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible, because organizations that don't have it together never really do get it together. I think LeBron, his presence back there clearly helped things. It boosted the economy back up. I think Griffith has made some good moves there, but once you're an organization that shows one time that you have extreme instability with the head coaching change that we saw this year with David Blatt, you always are what you are, and I don't think that really changes in sports that often. And if you're Kyrie Irving, you've been in this project for a while now. You've really experienced the down days, and now I think he has increased and he's improved as a player so much at this point where he looks at the way things are going and says, I could be leading my own team right now. But certainly waiting on a little bit more of a credible source before we fully delve into this issue. But on its face, I do think that there is some legitimacy to it. But we'll have to see if the Cavaliers can bounce back tonight against the Pacers, because normally when you bounce back with a statement win, rumors like this disappear quickly. We will see if that happens for the Cavaliers. Until then, Jersey Joe Archino here with the Sports Vault. You can follow me on Twitter at Joe Archino and on Instagram, Jersey_Joe_Archino, and I'll see everybody next time.